Welcome to the report from Tiger Mountain, ladies and gentlemen. Every slate of reports, I like to do a review now, something on television or something in the media, and we're going to talk about the show The Days on Netflix, which is about the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Stick around and listen. So, we're going to talk about The Days, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the new show that dropped on Netflix. And it's kind of a pretty interesting show, actually. Obviously last time I recommended the show to you here, at the report from Tiger Mountain, the one Errol Morris had made about the spies and MK Ultra and all that kind of thing. But this one is about the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Now, it's not the most, extravagant, exciting 6-episode, 6-hour mini-series that's ever existed. It's reasonably slow moving. Obviously, apart from the first episode where the nuclear accident itself happens, if you don't know the details, what happened was there was a gigantic earthquake in Japan, and obviously the nuclear power plant survived that okay. But the thing that really fucked it up, pardon my French, is that there was this gigantic tsunami, and when the tsunami hit the coast, this Fukushima reactor was on the coast, and basically it took out the electricity and the backup generators for the whole nuclear plant. And as you know, switching off the power when you're trying to cool down nuclear waste is probably not a good idea, ladies and gentlemen. Probably not a good idea. And so basically all the power was removed from the nuclear power station, and then slowly but surely the nuclear waste in a couple of the reactors that weren't fully put away, so to speak, began to degenerate, and various things happened. So, this is a really fascinating workmanlike. It's pretty much based on the factual testimony of a number of people who work there. Obviously, it does show the kind of errors that the company TEPCO was involved in. It shows the Japanese Prime Minister having to get more seriously involved as the true, nature of the meltdown. This is the thing. Obviously, it was a terrible nuclear accident, and a part of Japan, the prefecture of Fukushima, is unlivable. I'm not sure of the exact radius, but it's reasonably big. It's about 20 or 30 kilometres up to 60 kilometres around the reactor. People have had to move out from that. But this nuclear disaster could have been a lot worse, ladies and gentlemen. It could have infected and made unlivable approximately a third of Japan, including the city of Tokyo, where approximately 20 or 30 million people lived. So if this reactor had gone into full meltdown, they would have had to have basically evacuated the city of Tokyo, and that would have become basically a desert city. And as you know, if you've ever been to Tokyo, it's possibly one of the world's biggest cities, up there with New York and other cities of that size. So it's an extraordinary documentary, approximately about 10 to 12 Japanese men. This is very non-woke, ladies and gentlemen. There's no major female character. There's no major character who's not a Japanese man in this show. So it's extremely non-woke. It's very interesting about that on Netflix. Obviously Netflix makes shows that are European or from the Western world that are very woke, but the stuff they play from foreign countries often is the exact opposite of woke. There was the excellent Chernobyl, which was another really interesting mini-series about the nuclear reactor accident in Chernobyl, and this one is equally as good, in my opinion, about what happened in Japan. It's about 12 men who basically risked their lives to essentially save Japan. So what they had to do is, after the terrible accident, pretty much they had to continue to somehow pump water into these reactors, or else they would have a major meltdown which would irradiate a third of Japan. And basically, by sticking around and doing this during this period, because radiation was leaking already, because they had a couple of explosions, but the actual containment chambers where the reactor fuel was kept, they didn't explode. And if they did explode, again, we would have had the worst nuclear accident in the history of humanity. So these 12 men stayed, and most of them sadly have passed away now due to radiation poisoning. Some are still alive, so it wasn't an instant death sentence. So it's a really fascinating documentary. I can't recommend it enough. It's in Japanese. It's 6 hours. It's not incredibly fast moving, but I found it very moving. The samurai spirit is alive and well in Japan. The way of self-sacrifice, the men who stayed around to save Japan and to, you know, cool the reactors. They knew they were giving themselves a death sentence, ladies and gentlemen. So I thought it was very brave, and I thought it was a fantastic 6 hours of television. So I can't recommend it enough to you. Highly recommend it. It's called The Days. It's on Netflix, and if you don't want to join Netflix, you can probably download it from Pirate Bay or one of those kind of places. So if you don't want to give the globalists your money, go ahead and do that. You know, that's up to you. But if you, it's something worth watching, and that was my recommendation this month from the report from Tiger Mountain on Media. Thank you.